Today we're going to talk about playing the pusher. My buddy Brian calls him the anti-player. You know, put the ball back in the middle of the court and it's sitting up a little bit. That's the one you want to take advantage of. You just want to step in, take control, and get to the net. So, on that particular shot, what I find is, especially when you're in this area here, many players, when they get a ball up here, and the ball is this high, they have a tendency to want to come up and hit down. They're thinking they want to get the racket up and hit down this way. That's not what you want. That's going to send the ball in the net, or you're going to hit the ball short. So, even though the ball is up here, can I get a ball, Brian? Thank you. Even though the ball is up here, you're still coming below the ball, and you're swinging up as you hit. That's the key. That's going to give you the top spin, and it's going to keep the ball deep on the other side. The key on this shot, as with many shots, you're only as good as your backswing. Remember that. You're only as good as your backswing. What I mean is, when you bring the racket back, you have to be careful not to lay the racket open. A lot of players do that because they want to roll the racket over the ball. It's this rolling action in the hitting zone that causes a lot of mistakes. So, instead of thinking roll over, you want to keep the racket face closed as you come back. And notice my hitting elbow is up and away from my body. It's not in tight. Because if the elbow comes in, look at the racket. The racket starts to open up. If I keep the elbow away, I can keep the racket face closed. Now I drop it below the ball, and I'm coming up. You can see this here. Okay, the racket's closed here, closed, 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 boom. On vertical, now I drive through, and at this point, then I'm going to let the forearm and the wrist relax and come across the body. It's important that you keep your hitting shoulder and your hitting arm loose on this swing. Because if it's tight, the racket's not going to move fast, you're not going to get the power you want. So keep the lower arm, the shoulder, the wrist nice and relaxed. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being as tight as you can hold the racket, you're only holding it at 2 or 3. You're nice and loose, and that way you can generate some racket speed. Okay, so the backswing is key. You've got to have a good backswing, and then just step in on a low to high swing. Keep the forearm and wrist loose, and relax as you come across. Let me just hit a few here. Okay, at this point, the hitting elbow is up, which helps to keep the racket face closed. Keeping the racket face closed is going to prevent you from hitting this soft ball long. Okay, notice at this point, the racket face is below the ball and the racket face is closed. When the racket face is closed like this at the low point of the backswing, it guarantees vertical at contact. Okay, at contact, it's clear to see the racket is vertical
Now notice as I relax the wrist and forearm on the finish.
So that's the idea. The backswing is going to be key on this shot. Low to high is key. If there's one point I would concentrate on this high ball sitting up there, is keep the elbow up and away from the body so the racket stays closed. That's going to be key for you. Okay, here I'm going to show you from the back angle, and watch how that racket stays closed. I'm just going to come down below and up and through. So let's say 2 points I might be thinking about are face closed with that elbow up, right? And then a loose hitting arm as I go through. Loose, shoulder, forearm, and wrist. Here we go. Okay, so that's the idea. That's going to enable you to be the aggressor and to keep coming in. That time I hit behind him. All right, here we go. Okay, so that's the idea. Work on those finishing skills, and you're going to be able to beat the pusher. But you've got to be consistent with that high sitter that's sitting in the middle of the court. You've got to make that shot. You've got to hit a deep approach and get in behind it.